You're listening to the GC Collaborative Podcast, a resource for the worship arts team at Grace Church.
Welcome to this edition of the GC Collaborative Podcast.
We're back. We know it's been warm outside, but cold in your hearts because we have not been in your ears with this podcast.
Yes, you've not had GC Collaborative ear candy since what, May?
Our last one was May. Yeah.
Wow.
Took the summer off.
Yeah.
Decided to go get a tan outside because during the winter we just sit in this room recording a podcast.
That's all we do.
And so we were like, you know what? We should go see outside a little bit. And I'll tell you what, it was hot.
It was
very hot. I did not like the uncontrolled temperature of the outdoors.
Way too much vitamin D.
Yeah. I was like, can I get some air conditioning out here? What's a guy got to do to get some air conditioning?
Well, whether you have just hit stop and moved forward or you're still with us, we're just glad you took a second to at least give us a chance.
Yeah.
My name is Ben, and I am one of your hosts on the GC Collaborative Podcast. And sitting across from me is the one, the only, Luke Lauber.
I thought about changing it to Lauber.
Lauber.
What do you think? Over under?
I think that's perfect worship leader attitude.
Okay. Yeah.
That you should have a pretentious pronunciation of your last name.
I'm glad you realized that because I was talking to my mother about this on the phone, and she was telling me how it wasn't the way I should be acting, and I was like, "Mom, you just don't understand."
Moms keep us humble. How was your summer? Did you do anything this summer?
No,
was there anything exciting?
It was great.
Yeah. No, it was great.
It was good. No, we just had, just live life, church services. It was awesome.
You and Bailey?
It was a great summer. I love summer. Summer is like my season because I just get to be outside, like I said.
Sitting around your swimming pool?
So, yeah.
That's your complex?
Yeah.
Your compound?
Yeah. What did you do this summer? Tell us.
Well, thanks for asking. Addie and I went with our good friends, Brian and Marie, and we went down to Cabo. In July for a week.
Whoa.
It was wonderful. That was a Christmas gift Brian and I gave to our ladies, was to take them on a trip. No kids. It was just the four of us. Had a nice, amazing time together.
Awesome.
It was wonderful.
Heck yeah.
So spent the week there, and then had some staycation after that in July, and came back just hitting the ground running. We had worship night recently, and
worship night.
That was awesome.
It was actually this last Sunday. We can say this because we're releasing this podcast very soon.
It was 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Now, as we sit and record this on a Wednesday, it was very successful. You guys, our team did amazing. I was so proud of everybody. I just was not a sinful pride, but just one of the.
Well, I guess we'll find out when we get there, huh?
The kind of pride that makes you go, oh my gosh, everybody just, every time we do something significant with Christmas or an event like this, it just makes me so happy to see everybody utilizing their talents and coming together as a team and just pointing people to Christ the way you guys do. It was amazing. I loved it. So good.
Yeah.
So
and that's got to feel, I imagine that feel kind of cool because you've been here for a lot of years now.
Yeah.
Many years.
I can almost say a couple decades almost.
When you started, it was you and Tim, and Brian, and maybe some others at that point.
Yep,
but you were the only kind of person on the worship side, right?
Yeah, I was the only talented person.
I'm glad you brought that up. Something I'd like to say. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I was the only. I guess, everybody's creative, right? We believe that, but the only person that was bent this way for sure.
But it's got to be kind of cool to see 3 different campuses, all the singers, band members, and we were talking about this the other day, but it's pretty, I think it's one, a lot of the grace of God, but 2, just the amount of talent and passion and love we have on our team of volunteers, because we literally just pulled off from a secular terminology, it'd be a 2-hour concert, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So bands put months and months and months of time into that, and our fabulous volunteers, I think, had a combined 2 hours of rehearsal.
Yeah, probably so.
To do their part, and so I think that speaks a lot to the gifts that God has graced Grace with, and just the talents and the love and the passion that our volunteers have, which is all a gift from God, which is pretty cool. And so
it's amazing.
Pretty cool to see, and just to hear. I don't know. I always think it's really awesome because we are different locations now, that it's like to get everybody together and hear the different campuses sing together. Like that's always just so cool. And then the different players to play together is just always awesome, because it's like, oh, I've never played with this person before. And so I think, it's just kind of a very special heavenly moment, because there's just so much unity and a lot of grace and love to work together to get all the kinks worked out in the short amount of time. So
for sure, it was awesome. So
cool.
Thank you. Huge kudos to everybody that participated, volunteers and staff.
All of it. It's not an easy thing.
No. So we have to be honest. This show, we had a plan, right?
We did. But not all plans happen the way you plan them.
They don't. So we do have an exciting season that we've got on the docket for this season of GC Collaborative from now until next May, I guess, of 23. That's weird to say, May of 2023. But the people that we were going to have on the show today, one of them, their family, they had a baby.
They had a baby.
Yeah. They had a baby.
Yeah.
It's a boy.
I didn't know it was coming, honestly. I was a little surprised. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. So I'm hoping we'll have that one either next month or in a couple months. I don't know if you're pushing back or if you're just dropping that later.
I don't know. We got a pretty packed schedule. So if you miss your turn, baby or not,
you're out.
It's like, it's not an insurance policy. We can't change it just because a big life event happens. Like, we got to keep the schedule running.
I'm sure we'll have Justin on at some point.
Yeah, but we got to act like it's kind of, we just got to act a little bit like it's hard.
So instead, we are going to go ahead and have some special guests. You want to hit the special guest music?
Yep. Let's start that. Roll that music.
Roll that beautiful guest music.
Yeah. All right. Surprise. It's us.
Ben and Luke.
You get us today. So this is what happens when guests don't show up. So if you don't want to hear us anymore, just make sure you harp on the guests to make sure they show up, because this is what you get if they don't.
Yeah. So we do our typical thing. We sat down and we were like, what would be a good topic to discuss? And one of the things I think we both were kind of seeking the same thing while we were sitting here on our phones, surfing around, like what would be good? We both were looking for the same thing.
I literally just Googled good podcast topic.
Well, I wasn't looking for that.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that's funny. So I think, one of the things that we deal with as humans, every person deals with, is the seasons of life that bring you down, lows, and then we have highs. And one of the things that in Scripture that we find is that I've learned in my life personally is that those lows are awesome opportunities to understand what worship truly is and what it means to worship God. And sometimes we can get lost in the muck and the mire of our situation or our feelings or our scenario, and which is completely understandable, just because life can bring you down, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you worship God in the midst of situations that can be cumbersome or tiresome? How do you do that? And like right now for me, I'll just be honest, like right now I'm just going through season of like tough. It's just been tough with stuff going on in my world personally. And it's not been, there's been some awful times. I'll just be frank and honest with our listeners. It's just been a challenging season for my family, not my immediate family, but my other family beyond that layer. I don't know what you call that, but
the outer layer,
not the super outer layer, but the inner outer,
the inner outer layer struggling.
Anyways, so it is. It's been trying, and so we were that was just me processing things personally before we hit record on the podcast, and then we were both looking up stuff, and you actually ran across. Were you like, is it recording? Oh yeah, he just stood up. Luke, everybody, just so you know, Luke stood up and looked at the what is that thing? The mixer, and is like, did I hit record? Because how awful would it be if we had to start this whole thing over? So you actually ran across a verse that seemed pretty compelling to me when you read it. I was like, oh, that's perfect.
It's one of my just kind of favorites that I always come across, and it's from Habakkuk 3, and it's 17 through 18, and it just says, though the fig tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen, and no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, and I will be joyful in my God and my Savior. And I just always love that verse, because I think no matter who you are, life is good some days and bad some days, right? And so it's just the human existence. And so I think in that you have bad days, and you have days that you do feel like the world is not going the way I thought it would or want it to. But the reality is that God is still God. And he's not just God because life goes our way. Like, the reality, if we really believe God is God, then that reality is he deserves to be worshipped no matter what. And we as Christians believe that he's a good God. So then in that, it's okay, even if it doesn't make sense, and even if there are hard days, I have to believe that he's not just going to let this be just bad to be bad. He's not going to let my crops die just to let them die. He's not going to let, my life fall apart just to let it fall apart. There's going to be some redemptive nature, right? And so I think that's what the cross showed us. It's the worst thing in the world happened, yet the best thing in the world happened out of it, and that was the resurrection and salvation. And so to me, it's having trust and hope in that. And then the Old Testament, they didn't have that, though. So then there's this element of, I think, just recognizing that doesn't matter if it goes my way or not, you're still God.
There's no changing that fact.
Yeah, there's no changing that reality. And so I'll just rejoice in that because, I don't know. Sometimes there's just those days, and I have family going through this right now where it's like life is just not good if I look at it as it is. Nobody would say these circumstances are good. Nobody would say that this is a good thing, but I can still rejoice in the Lord because, one, I know he's God, he's real, and then two, now that we live on the New Testament side of things, I can trust that somehow, some way, there's going to be redemption in this, and there's going to be good that comes from it, even though in this immediate moment it feels nothing like that. So I think it's just kind of one of those things. It's like, what's our reality, And I think it even goes back to bring the kingdom of heaven to earth. It's that heavenly mindset of the earthly mindset is, your life's ruined, and what are you going to do? But then the heavenly mindset is, okay, in my opinion, it's okay, this is not a good situation, but God's still God, and he can still work things through this, which I think for me gives joy and hope. And because for a lot of my life, it was like the joy and the hope is that we get to go to heaven someday, but life here is just going to suck. And so, which, I mean, it's not all wrong. Like, our hope is that, that heaven is coming, but I also think God is with us here now, and we get to experience that, and we do get to bring that kingdom of heaven to earth. We get to bring thy will be done as earth is in heaven as Christians to earth, which I think is pretty cool to be a part of. In the mindset of that.
It's true. I was just looking at the passage, and it says in I think you read to verse 18, right? In 19 it says, the sovereign Lord is my strength, and I'm looking at the NLT, by the way. It says 19, the sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer, able to tread upon the heights. And then it says in parentheses, for the choir director, this prayer is to be accompanied by stringed instruments.
Heyo!
How funny is that? That's
not now, horns.
Yeah. Keep it down, keep it down.
Yeah. This is not your part.
Drummers, stop banging that. But I think, the sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer, able to tread upon the heights. And I'm not a aficionado of deer, but I imagine I imagine they must keep their balance pretty well, and they're very sure of themselves. It sounds like, able to.
I mean, you got 4 legs. Could you imagine?
Right.
I'd do a lot with 4 legs.
So, I think oftentimes the Lord is my strength. The sovereign Lord is my strength. And too often we do fall upon ourselves to provide our own strength. And we feel like in circumstances, we have to come up with all of our solutions to our problems, which, I mean, it's just nature to want to do that. But I think if you're in a complete state of surrender, which is what worship is allowing God to consume every aspect of your life, then that means in these times where instead of going into a panic mode or, succumbing to the anxiety, which, I mean, we get anxiety. It's just human nature. We got these bodies that we got to deal with. But just realizing that, like in this passage, the sovereign Lord is my strength. He will make you. He makes me as sure-footed as a deer. Doesn't mean that life's going to be perfect. It just means he's going to give you the strength to be able to persevere through these things. If you can look beyond the moment and let him be your strength versus trying to come up with your own solutions in those scenarios.
Which is the natural thing, I think, for humans to do, is to come up with their own solution. And I can fix this. I got to fix this.
That's my first reaction. It's
what
am I going to do? What am I going to do now? I'm like, stop.
You feel that stress. Your heart rate starts beeping on your watch. And just, But I think that's the beauty of it is these truths of like, and that's for me, it's not that you don't deal with things and you don't deal with those pressures or, anxieties. It's the, sometimes it takes days, sometimes it takes hours, but it's coming back to that reality, that heavenly reality of like, oh, God's got this. Like, I don't have to fix this. I don't have to, be Superman. I can trust in him, which can be hard because it's like, can I trust in him? Sometimes. You're like,
so it's really more of a question mark. You can trust in him?
Yeah. You can trust in him? But then it's cool.
Sovereign Lord is my strength?
That's probably how we should read scripture more. It's like, I think. No. But I think that's the awesome thing is, just even relationally, like I always felt bad because I didn't have trust in the Lord in certain situations. And it wasn't until one day, I don't know if this is the right thought or not, but I had this thought of, just like any relationship, you have to gain trust with each other, right? And so why do I think that's any different with God? Like I have to see that he is trustworthy, just like I would any other relationship. And then it's been cool to see because there have been times where it's like, I have to trust in him. And the crazy thing is he's come through, every single time. Has it been what I've wanted it to be? Absolutely not, but has it been even better than I could have ever imagined in a lot of ways? Absolutely. And, but it's building that trust over life. And I think sometimes, I know I do this where I look at people of great faith and it's like, oh, why don't I have that faith?
Right.
But then I have to realize they got to that place because of walking with the Lord for years, and they weren't just, I don't know, sometimes I think we become Christians and we should just have all the faith in the world. But I don't know, to me,
it's experience. You got to go through that stuff in order to grow and understand.
Exactly.
I mean, we instantly want satisfaction and gratification from our relationship with God, thinking that all troubles will go away, or if troubles do come up, I'll be able to maturely handle them. Well, it's not that easy.
I think I find in reality that when the troubles come my way, I find all the immaturities and insecurities rise to the surface.
Right.
And I'm like, oh no. Yeah. But even in that, I found that, like, I think God,
you need that.
Yeah, because then I think I used to feel embarrassed about those things, but now I realize I think he brings those things to the surface to not embarrass us, but to say like, hey, I want to heal you, or I want to remove these from your life because they've always been down there, but you've needed this situation to see them come to light almost, and so it's been cool to see those moments.
That perspective is maturity. It's the perspective of understanding that you do not have to feel shame for those feelings. Yeah. You just recognize them and go, these are things that I need to let God heal, like you said.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes people just have so much shame about stuff that God really is already aware of, and people
He knows.
and people don't care. I think we put way too much stock in what people's perceptions are, that we don't even realize that people really have the same issues, or they really don't care. And if they do, okay, so what? I mean,
if they do, then they don't. Probably they're unaware of their own shortcomings, which is probably a little bit more concerning.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, because I think that's even for my own self. It's like that's what has made like walking with the Lord even more like beautiful, because it's this not like in some levels it's just the difference between religion and relationship too, right?
Yeah.
And it's the religion is you better get it right or else. Relationship is
isn't
like,
that funny?
Yeah.
I always had this is something I had to grow through, because I had this vision of who God was early on in my walk. Not early, super early, but I think when I first became a Christian, when I first received Christ, my faith and belief in Him was was more innocent. And then I started to learn from others. And sometimes I was allowing people's perception of who God the Father was molding my belief of who He was. And I initially, for a while, I viewed God as the type of dad who will thump you on the head, will flick your head, cause you pain, to bring something to attention. And sometimes there's things that He allows to happen in order for us to be aware of things because of our poor decisions. But I had to do that with my kids. I let them, take those steps to make mistakes, and to make poor decisions. But I didn't come around and just hit them on the head, and so that was my initial perspective of who God is. And I think as I grew in my walk and my understanding, I realized God's not that type of father, in my opinion. He's just not. He's not joyfully and gleefully waiting for the next moment to thump your head.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For some reason, I think we get that in our minds, that we think that's the type of God. That's who God is.
Yeah.
It's not true.
It's definitely very interesting that we, kind of naturally assume that is that, He's just waiting to smite us. That's what I have to think of. He's just waiting for to destroy my life and show me that I did something wrong. But it's funny that you say that, because you kind of took your perception of God from others, and which is funny that we're talking about suffering, because one of my favorite verses is at the end of Job, where obviously Job suffers and loses everything, and is a big example of just losing it all and finding God in that. But at the end of it, I always find it interesting. I think it's actually the last chapter, one of the last chapters, but it's when he's kind of responding to God, and he says something along the lines of, I admit I once lived by rumors of you, but now I've seen like who you really are. And I think for all of us, to some level, we have to go through those experiences of like, because I think we all naturally take experiences from other people and kind of take pieces of that, but then God has to at different times show us like, this is not really who I am. This is, I think the song Good Father talks about it. I've heard 1,000 stories.
I've heard 1,000 stories. Oh, we're going to
keep going. I'm trying to remember the rest of the line. I can't remember the rest of the line.
Stories of what
they think you're like.
Think you're like.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know, in my mind, he's alluding to that thought in that verse.
Yeah.
But it is that I think we almost do gain these bad stories almost, or I don't know if we turn them that way internally or what, but then he has to like kind of like work through that and show us who he is, which how he does that is just baffling to me. But it's true. I think we just gain what we think he is, and then sometimes through I'd say hard and good, through it all he shows us who he really is, which is I think one of the coolest things about God is he could just let us sit in our own stupidity and be like, figure it out.
Good luck. I'll be waiting.
I'll wait over here. I'll be sipping some tea.
Yeah.
But he gets right in the middle of it, which is a crazy thing that I'll probably fully understand. Maybe I will someday if I ever become a father.
Yeah.
A father.
You know. Definitely has revealed I think when I became a dad, it definitely showed me a different perspective of stuff. And I mean, it doesn't mean that everybody has to be a dad in order to understand who God is. But I think people that need that understanding probably helps them a little more.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, that's good, man. I would say, one thing as I think we're coming to a probably closing. I think there's people that are probably listening that need just a moment of encouragement, like what we were just talking about. And then because life is rough or whatever. And then there's probably people in the audience or people that are listening that maybe they feel like they're so far from God. There's nothing that they can do to even come close to being back in God's favor or being in God's favor, whatever their feeling may be. And one passage for me that I've always clung to since I was a young believer was Psalms 51, where it's David crying out to God and as a prayer of repentance for the sin that he was in. And there was some things that he says in this. This is with when he's dealing with what he did with Bathsheba and her husband. He just says, "Have mercy on me, O God, because of your unfailing love, because of your great compassion. Blot out the stain of my sins, wash me clean from my guilt, purify me from my sin, for I recognize my rebellion. It haunts me day and night. Against you and you alone have I sinned. I have done what is evil in your sight. You will be proved right in what you say, and your judgment against me is just. For I was born a sinner, yes, from the moment my mother conceived me. But you desire honesty from the womb, teaching me wisdom, and even there. Purify me from my sins, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. Oh, give me back my joy again. You have broken me. Now let me rejoice. Don't keep looking at my sins. Remove the stain of my guilt. Create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a loyal spirit within me. Do not banish me from your presence, and don't take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and make me willing to obey you. Then I will teach your ways to rebels, and they will return to you. Forgive me for shedding blood, O God, who saves. Then I will joyfully sing of your forgiveness. Unseal my lips, O Lord, that my mouth may praise you. You don't desire a sacrifice, or I would offer one. You don't want a burnt offering. The sacrifice you desire is a broken spirit. You will not reject a broken and repentant heart, O God." I always come to that because we oftentimes find ourselves in this place I've got to be doing something to win back that feeling and that favor with God. And he says it right there. He's like, the prayer is, you don't want a burnt offering. You don't want a sacrifice. What God really sincerely desires is you, your heart, who you are completely and totally. And that's what worship is. It's just complete surrender of every aspect of who you are and not trying to fulfill some list of things that would win favor with God, but just give him your heart. In even the midst of a trial and a circumstance like what you were reading out of Habakkuk there. And, and then just, if you're in the midst of continually caught in a downward spiral of sin, just surrender it and give God your heart.
Oh, absolutely.
So, anyway.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well, I think he wants to be there in it with you,
Yep.
And so rather than just waiting for you to be the perfect version of yourself, he's like, no, I want to be in the middle of it with you and help you see that who I am in this. So. Side note, do you ever want to say bless you after somebody says Habakkuk?
Habakkuk.
Yeah.
Habakkuk.
Bless you.
Bless you. Blessings.
Well, this has been awesome, actually.
Yeah.
I was like, man, while you're talking, I was like, man, this is kind of nice. Sometimes, honestly, not to be cheesy, but this is kind of an example of when life doesn't go your way.
Oh.
Some great things can come out of it.
Absolutely.
Because I was sitting here thinking, this is actually a really fun. I've liked what you said.
Yeah, I've liked what you've said as well. You as well have said things that are worth.
I've really gained a lot from listening to you. So it's been awesome.
Good, man.
So that's actually pretty cool that it worked out this way because we didn't have this on the docket at all. We just kind of were like, well,
let's record something.
Yeah. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here.
I had to be here.
This was probably my favorite interview of all. So
you're just saying that. You say that after every interview. I've heard you say it at least 10 times now.
Right. But
hey, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for being here today.
Okay, don't say anything. We're going to play the outro music right here.
Love you guys.
No, we're gonna come back and then do that outro.
Okay.
We still got to talk about.
We still love you guys.
Center. All right. Thanks, Ben and Luke.
Yeah, that was great, man. What a great discussion.
What a great discussion. You can tell we haven't done this for a while. We're getting sloppy.
It's been a while.
We're getting sloppy, but we're having fun.
Yeah, I hope you guys have at least enjoyed sitting in on this conversation, and we do hope it was a source of encouragement for you. Yeah. There's one thing we always cap off our episodes with to remind you. Is there something else? Go ahead. You've got other things.
So this semester, I say
please.
semester, this part of the year until December, our goal with the podcast is, and we'll catch up with Justin later, but is to have each campus pastor and worship director come in. We're going to take some verses that talk about worship and discuss them and kind of what that means for us personally, what that means for us corporately at Grace. So it's going to be a great time. So we're going to have Chris Fetters and Rachel Caldwell and Brian Gann and Kurt White, and then me and Justin. So we're just going to have each campus and each worship director, and we're just going to talk about worship and just different verses in the Bible that talk about it.
We're coming back to the heart of worship, you might say.
I'm there at the heart. But anyway, so it's going to be a fun year. We're super excited about it, and just excited to talk about this idea of what is worship? What does music have to do with it? What's God say about it? What do we do about it? All those things. So, and just kind of learn together and dive in. So hopefully join us, and we're going to have some laughs along the way, hopefully.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We're pretty good at that, I think. People laugh at us all the time.
I laugh at us.
If you don't, you cry.
That's the truth. Nobody else, if I don't laugh, nobody else does. So.
That's right.
But anyways, back to the thing that Ben was talking about, Planning Center. If you guys can accept your decline, it makes life fine.
Ooh.
But a question mark leaves a hole in my heart. It's a song. We're writing a song. We're writing a song.
This is new.
We're writing a song. No. But anyway, seriously, so accept or decline. And we just love you guys. Thank you guys so much for all you do always. We're always just amazed and inspired by volunteers and just how much love and passion you guys have. So we love you, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, have a good one. There we go. Nice.
Thanks for listening to the GC Collaborative Podcast. If you have any questions or would like more information, check us out at visitgracechurch.com.